All right, hold up.
Hold up.
Hold up.
Hold up.
Hold up. Hold up.
Relax. I know what you're thinking. Who is this fucking clown with like 2 subscribers saying that Tobey Maguire sucks? Listen, he doesn't suck. All right, just let me make some points. I love Tobey Maguire. Aww. I have a script here, and I think I wrote like 5 times I love Tobey Maguire. Okay, so I'm not a Tobey hater. Just let me get through my points. Tobey Maguire was my childhood Spider-Man growing up. He's the reason that I love superhero movies so much. I've seen Spider-Man 1 through 3 so many times growing up, and I love them. Hell, not only that, I still love these movies, and I rewatch them every few years. I can't help myself. They're good superhero movies. Spider-Man 2 is top 5 best superhero movies of all time, probably. It is so fucking good. And, okay, 3 has a ton of questionable moments, and arguably it's a bad superhero movie, but that's okay. As a trilogy, I think the original Spider-Mans they're solid films. That being said, is Tobey Maguire a good Spider-Man? Arguably not. So I want to break this video up into a few parts, and part 1 is the definitions. So you're probably thinking to yourself, the definition of what, Matt? The definition of the word spiders? Maybe? The definition of Spider-Man? The definition of superheroes? No.
Definition of the word opinion.
The definition of the word opinion is as follows. A view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. And that definition is fact, not opinion.
Hey Matt, can you tone it down a bit? You're being a bit condescending.
I should move on?
For the love of God, yes please.
I have like a way more. I'll move on. So yeah, Tobey Maguire is not a good Peter Parker. I'm so sorry, he's not. I like this character. You know, it's not Peter Parker in my opinion, but you know, it's cool. I think his Spider-Man's a great superhero. I don't think either of them are really Peter Parker or Spider-Man though. But
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Just let me explain why. When comparing Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, this seems to be an extremely popular opinion. Tobey is the best Peter Parker, Andrew is the best Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is the best blend of both. I agree with the bottom 2. I honestly did not understand Peter Parker as a character when I grew up watching these movies. I always thought Peter Parker was the dweebiest of all dweebs based on these movies. I thought this guy tripped over his shoelaces, wore exclusively collared shirts, chased after school buses on a daily basis, had no idea how to talk to girls, and was hated and bullied consistently. Tobey Maguire portrays Peter Parker perfectly, but only the Peter Parker from like the first 10 comic books ever created. In other words, he captures the origin Peter Parker perfectly. Pick up any Spider-Man comic book and you have a very high chance of reading a Peter Parker story that's very distant from how Tobey portrayed him. Sure, he's a bit eccentric and a little bit awkward, right? Of course Peter Parker's gonna be awkward. Like this scene in Homecoming where Peter asks Liz to go to the dance.
You wanna go with me?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, great, cool.
This feels very much like Peter Parker, right? A little bit awkward, but this, on the other hand, does not feel like Peter Parker to me.
Hey! Stop the bus!
Stop the bus! He's been chasing us since Woodhaven Boulevard.
I've been reading poetry lately.
Whatever that means.
Day by day, he gazed upon her.
You see, there's a difference. And now you might be thinking, well, what about that guy, Flash Thompson? Doesn't he bully Peter all the time in the comics because he's such a dweeb? Isn't Peter, in fact, just
Straight up a nerd? Like, shouldn't he get, like, bullied and stuff?
In the original Amazing Spider-Man comics, of course, he gets bullied by Flash Thompson all the time. But what happens in the later comics? They become friends. Him and Flash Thompson become friends. Not only that, they become roommates.
God, they were roommates.
Peter feels way more to me like a genius outcast than he does a giant nerd. If you want to see a perfect Peter Parker, meet Tom Holland.
What's up, guys?
He's kind of nerdy, but he's not, you know, like the stereotypical by-the-book loser. He's just kind of to himself and he's a bit nerdy. He doesn't chase after school buses. He's just kind of an ordinary dude with a big heart and who fucks up a lot and has a plethora of problems. Peter Parker is intended to be your relatable, typical, struggling human. And I feel that way when I watch Tom Holland. He's just a young kid trying to get through life. And I don't feel that way when I watch Tobey Maguire.
My back.
The Sam Raimi's definitely touch on the money problems aspect well though, and not only that, in general, the writing of Peter Parker is overall pretty decent, aside from the over-reliance on him being a stereotypical loser. And the conflict that Peter struggles with in Spider-Man 2 feels so accurate to this character. I mean, between balancing Spider-Man with Peter Parker's complicated life, losing his powers, giving up becoming Spider-Man. I don't think there's been a live-action film adaptation that more accurately depicts Peter Parker in terms of writing than Spider-Man 2. And not only that, but Tobey's performance as an actor is honestly fantastic. So again, don't get confused. I think Tobey Maguire is great and he's a great actor. He just, again, does not feel like Peter Parker or Spider-Man to me. Don't hate me? Tobey just doesn't feel like Spider-Man to me anymore.
It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind.
And maybe that's just me. Maybe the things I love about Spider-Man are different than yours. Or maybe you just think Tobey nailed it, and that's fine. In the comics, he's known to never shut the fuck up, and makes it his mission to drive all of his enemies insane.
My fans expect a certain amount of quippage in every battle.
That thing does not obey the laws of physics at all.
Yo, Sparkles!
A god named Sparkles?
Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers.
I was gonna say the same to you.
I can tell Hulk gives it away.
You ever shut up?
He uses his voice as a defense mechanism when he's scared, like in this scene from Homecoming. Perfect example.
Just a typical homecoming on the outside of an invisible jet. Finding my girlfriend's dad.
Whenever he became Spider-Man in the comics, I just couldn't wait for him to crack me up or do some sort of double backflip to get out of danger. But Tobey's quips just feel misplaced and not like Spider-Man.
Here's your change!
It feels like this is Tobey's Peter Parker in a mask, making jokes that just don't feel like Spider-Man to me. Let's do some comparisons.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude.
That was funny.
What are you doing up there?
Staying away from you.
That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
That was cringy.
You'll fight me? You'll fight me now?
On behalf of the fine people of New York City and real rhinos everywhere, I ask you to put your mechanized paws in the air.
Never!
That was clever.
Jig's up, pal.
I don't want to hurt you. Leave now.
I guess you haven't heard. I'm the sheriff around these parts.
Okay, so I'm editing right now, and I just want to clarify something. So I don't have an issue with the lines that Tobey's reading. Like, they're cheesy and corny, but they're kind of supposed to be. You know, Spider-Man as a character is definitely supposed to be kind of, like, delivering these cheesy, goofy lines. But he's supposed to do it in a way that's, like, funny and confident and, like, kind of goofy at the same time. Like, Tom Holland does it perfectly. But with Tobey, it feels a little bit too forced, and it feels way more dorky and campy than it's supposed to be. Spider-Man's just supposed to be like annoying. He's supposed to be a motor mouth, a nuisance, and witty. And I don't feel that with Tobey, but I do feel it with Tom and Andrew, if that makes sense.
The organic webs are another issue for me, because they take away part of what makes his character special, his genius brain and his creativity. Plus, it's just weird to me that goo comes out of his wrists and he latches onto it. I don't like it, it makes me uncomfortable. I'm aware that there are some storylines where that's a thing, but it wasn't the original design of the character, and it even feels weird to me in the comics. In general, watching Tobey swing around with his stringy goo while punching enemies in the face and making cringy jokes every once in a while just feels so unlike this character to me. He's supposed to be agile, dancing around his enemies, quipping, shooting webs in their face, and that's not Tobey. And trust me, I understand that I'm not being totally fair because the CGI, the effects, the production quality in general is not as good as the newer movies, obviously, and it couldn't possibly be, given the time that they came out. But Tobey Spider-Man still just doesn't feel like Spider-Man. Don't hate me? I have so much respect for these movies, and they're one of, if not the biggest reasons that Spider-Man is as big as he is today. Sure, there were some live-action adaptations before Tobey, and there were animated shows and so forth, but these movies are what made this character as widely important as he is today, and I have so much respect for them for that reason alone. And while Toby didn't make me fall in love with Spider-Man, I still actually enjoyed his take on this superhero. There's a reason that I still revisit these movies, and there's a reason that I love these movies so much. They're amazing superhero movies. Plus, the nostalgia and joy that these movies bring feels so real to me. The train scene alone is one of the best superhero moments of all time, period. Danny Elfman's score gives me chills every time I watch these movies. The CGI is so impressive for the time that they came out. I like the original Spider-Man. I do. I like this Peter Parker. I like this Spider-Man. They don't feel like my favorite character of all time, but it doesn't mean I don't like them. I would love to see a Spider-Verse movie with Tobey. I mean, he's the OG, he deserves so much respect, and you can't mention Spider-Man without mentioning Tobey Maguire. I have so much love and respect for these films, and always will, and I don't want this video to take away from that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.
They love me. You know, eat your green vegetables.
So 1, 2, 3, take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I say you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. 4, 5, 6, come on and get your kicks. Now you don't need the money when you look like that, do you, honey? Well, I